Welcome, audience, to another podcast, another Diversitas podcast. Are so appreciative of you joining us today. If you don't know about Diversitas, Diversitas is a podcast at the crossroads of diversity, business, and culture. Today, we have with us Chris Woods, who is the CEO of 916. 916 is a consulting firm based in the Philadelphia area, which provides services in the areas of government affairs, labor affairs, community affairs, and business development. Prior to founding 916, Chris was a leader of a prominent Philadelphia area union local and has been a fixture in Philadelphia area political and labor circle for years, despite the fact that he is and looks so young and fresh. So with that brief introduction, I want to welcome Chris. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael. I'm glad to be a part of the show. I'm glad for you guys reaching out to me and giving me an opportunity to be here. So thank you.
Absolutely. So why don't you tell us a little bit about 916? What is 916?
Sure. So my grandmother, who raised my sister and I in North Philadelphia, she was the focal point of my life growing up. And my grandmother, for folks who don't know, Emma Woods, who was a dietitian at Humenik Hospital, later became a VP of 1199C. So a lot of my time growing up was spent, running around the Union Hall. And when my grandmother passed in 2019, I wanted to do something to kind of keep her legacy going and kind of really repurpose and focus my work around her legacy. And 916 stands for her birthday. Her birthday was September the 16th. So we went with that. And, what I wanted to do when creating a company was kind of focus on the areas of her life that was special and meant a lot to her. So obviously labor. So that's why we offer that service. From a government affairs standpoint, my grandmother was always in politics, whether in the union or outside of the union, and very involved in her community. So we offer the community aspect, and then something that I just wanted to throw in there, to kind of keep touch with really what's happening in Philadelphia was the business development piece, and trying to work with developers and using my relationships to kind of navigate through different projects that folks may have. And so that's where the business development piece comes from. But really, the idea was just to carry on, the legacy of my grandmother. And we used her birthday to create the company. And, we've been doing really well here in 10 months of being open for business.
So, and thank you for that. That the grandmother story, I definitely want to get back to that because that's very, very interesting. I don't think a lot of people would obviously know. Because the first thing I saw when I saw that you started the business at 916, I was like, 916, what does that mean? It has to mean something. So I'm Googling it, I'm trying to figure it out. I could not figure that out. So that is definitely enlightening. So if I'm Joe Schmo business person and I'm looking to retain you and I say, what is the value proposition for 916? What does 916 give me that other businesses in this arena don't give me? What would that be?
Well, I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, I come with 15 years of experience in the labor world, and running a big time union like 1199C. But also from 2017 to 2019, I also ran the National Union of Hospital and Healthcare Employees. So I had 7 states, 50,000 men and women across the country in healthcare that I was responsible for as the executive director under Henry Nicholas as the president of the Hospital Workers Union. And also being here in Philadelphia, like you also mentioned, I've been very, very involved in, politics on a local level, on a state level. So I have a lot of relationships throughout the city of Philadelphia, throughout the Commonwealth of PA that I think my clients can really tap into and use for various purposes, whether you're in healthcare, whether you are a developer, big or small, whether you are someone, I've had folks reach out to me who are trying to start a home care agency or a home care company. I've had all kinds of folks reach out to me. I've helped technology companies so far in our 10 months of being open for business. So I bring a lot of experience in the labor world. I bring a lot of connections and relationships for some folks who are still in charge and responsible for the growth of our city, business in our city, labor in our city, education in our city, development in our city. So I think, if folks were to retain 916 as their consultant on any level, I think we'll be able to accomplish whatever it is that our clients are looking for.
So tell us about, you've had a very, you've had a fantastic career up until this point. Obviously, you're still young, it's going to continue. But tell me about your path from, childhood to really becoming a major labor leader in the city of Philadelphia. How did that come about?
Sure. So as I mentioned again, I was raised by my grandmother in North Philadelphia, 27th and Cecil B. Moore to be exact. Went to public school early on in my life, William D. Kelly. Later on, I went to private school. My grandmother was very faith-based oriented, so we had to get up every Sunday and make sure you were in church.
What church did you go to?
I went to United Baptist Church at 25th and Thompson.
I went to New Thankful Baptist Church at 18th and Cecil B. Moore. That's where I grew up.
I know all about it. Because one thing about church back then, we had service all day, so you weren't getting home, early enough to watch football or anything like that.
No, you were not.
We were in church all day, so I know a lot of the churches in the area because we would go to attend those churches in the afternoon. So, absolutely. So, we grew up there. Then my grandmother later moved to Germantown. So I lived with my grandmother in Germantown, went to Philmont Christian Academy to play basketball. So I did that in high school. After high school, graduated from Philmont. I went on to Edinburgh University. And that's where I graduated from in 2007 with a sports administration degree. And early on, I was thinking more of like the NFL Players Union, NBA Players Association. So when I graduated, I called my grandmother and was like, hey,